My goal today is to build scorecards using Kpi, templates, and rollups in Scoreboard. I've already logged in and have landed at my home page. I'll start by selecting scorecards and then selecting Mobile World. I'll see there is a sales org beneath it, which contains a large number of regions. The US is broken down the most, with East and West Coast divisions, and beneath the East Coast I'll see Northeast and Southeast. At the very bottom of sales is an org named Sales Template. To build up the sales organization, this template was leveraged to create all the various regions so that they were all identical. To review this in more detail, I'll select Sales Template, and then within Scorecards I'll review the structure to see that there are two themes at the top level. Beneath that are KPIs, and in some cases sub-KPIs. If I click on Product Sales Revenue and then select Edit at the bottom, I'll scroll up to see that this template org leveraged the concept of rollup at the KPI level, so that when data is loaded at a level like Northeast, values automatically sum to East Coast, then to the US, and then to the sales parent. I'll now select Done. Under Presentation, if I click on Dashboards, I see that there are 4 dashboards, and if I click on Charts and Reports, I see there are 2 reports that are tied to this template. At the top, if I click on Africa, and then select Scorecards, I'll see the exact same structure with 2 themes, KPIs, and sub-KPIs. The only thing different is the inclusion of Africa as the suffix. If I click on Dashboards, I'll see the 4 dashboards, and if I click Charts and Reports, I'll see the 2 reports. All of these items came across automatically from the Sales Template org. With that as background, I'd like to create a new organization for Europe based on the Sales Template org. At the top, I'll select Sales Template and then select Edit. I see that I have 2 options to copy an org. The first is Copy, which will copy the scorecard structure and all the presentation objects for that org. This option creates a completely distinct organization. Any future changes to the original organization will not be reflected in the new one. Since that is what I want, I'll select Copy. I'll accept the default in the top left to just copy the top level. An alternative on the right is to copy the top level and all of its descendants. Since that's not applicable for Sales Template, I'll leave that alone and move down towards the middle. In the middle, since I want Europe to be directly beneath sales, I'll select that. And then in the bottom right, I'll select Copy. And then wait for that to propagate. Next, I'll rename the new organization by clicking on it and then selecting Rename. I'll call it Europe Copy and click Rename. The second option is Copy as Template, which will again make a copy of the scorecard structure and presentation objects. However, unlike the copy option, any future changes to the original organization will be reflected automatically in the new one, creating an ongoing connection between the two. A key thing to note with either option is that actual values, notes, owners, and updaters do not come over with the copy. So once again, I'll select the sales template structure, but this time select Copy as Template. With this option, a key thing to note towards the top is a blue banner warning that any future changes to the org structure scorecards, dashboards, and reports will affect the new organization. Since I'm okay with that, I'll move on. Once again, I'll accept the top left option to just copy over the top level of the sales template. In the middle, again, I'll select sales. And then in the bottom right, this time I'll select next. With this option, I have the ability to add a prefix or suffix to the new organization for its scorecards, dashboards, and reports. I'll change the organization to Europe, copy as template this time. And then to be consistent with the other sales orgs, I'll type Europe in parentheses with the lead space in each of these options here. I'll then, at the bottom right, select Copy. I'll then select Done to get out of edit mode. Next, I'll look to test things out. I'll select Europe Copy and select Scorecards. And I'll verify the scorecard structure looks as I would expect. If I expand things, I'll see that I have two themes at the top, KPIs, and then sub-KPIs. If I click on product sales revenue, I'll see that the thresholds have come over, but the actual has not. If I select dashboards, I'll verify that those have come across along with the two charts and reports. I'll note that they are blank because I haven't yet loaded any European data. Next, up at the top, I'll select Europe, copy as template. Once again, I'll select scorecards and verify things look as I would expect. Once again, I have my two themes, KPIs, and submeasures. I'll select dashboards and charts and reports to make sure that those items have come across. And once again, everything is blank because I haven't yet loaded any data. So I have two new structures, one that is living independently of the original template and one that is permanently tied to it. Next, I'll illustrate that any future changes made to the template will have no impact on the copy structure, but are carried across automatically to the template structure. I'll go back to Sales Template, select Scorecards, and up at the top, I'll create a new scorecard item. I'll provide a name of Discount Card Sales and leave the default of generic item and select Create. I'll then click on it and once again select New Scorecard Item, provide a name of Number of Cards Sold, change the type to KPI, and then work my way down to the series section. To have values roll up the tree, I'll switch each of these to roll up. I'll then address what should occur if there are missing values. I'll change each of these to treat missing values as blank to avoid having to populate entries for this KPI across the entire sales org structure to see a grand total. I'll then set the red flag to 100 and the goal to 200 and work my way back up. Once at least one of the items at the bottom has been set to rollup, a new option appears in the KPI details section called Rollup Equation. Since this is a numerical KPI, I'll leave the default to have the number of cards summed as I work my way up the sales tree structure. To the left of that is aggregation type, which controls how values are handled when I switch from monthly to quarterly to yearly in the top right. I do want this to be summed, but one thing to note is that if I did change the aggregation type to average, the product automatically changes the rollup to average. I could then change that back to sum and ensure that both are switched back. At this point, I'm now ready to click Create and then Done. The question now is, what is the impact of that change? If I click on Europe Copy as Template, I'll see that the new items have automatically come across. However, if I click on Europe Copy, the new items are nowhere to be found. So this is behaving exactly as I expect. The copy structure is completely independent of the structure that I made the copy from, while the copy as template structure contains an ongoing link to the original structure. Getting back to the idea of rollup, I'll load some actual values for the new KPI I created to see the impact of that. I'll select Northeast underneath US, and then select the new KPI. In the middle, I'll select Update. And I'll load a value of 300 for the month of May for Northeast. I'll then switch to Southeast. Once again, select the KPI, click Update, and this time I'll enter a value of 200, and then click Save. If I switch to their parent, East Coast, and select the KPI, I'll see that even though I didn't load an actual value directly to this org, it is coming across. It is taking the value for Northeast, adding the value for Southeast, and providing a grand total of 500. If I hover over 500, it shows me that it is summing two KPIs. And if I click on that, I can actually see the math. 300 came from one area, in this case Northeast, and 200 from another, in this case Southeast. I'll click Close, and I'll go all the way up to the top level of sales and select the KPI. I'll see the same number of 500. However, if I hover over it, I see that it is intending to sum up a number of different KPIs, not just Northeast and Southeast. Once values are loaded for maybe Northwest, Southwest, etc., that total will grow. The last thing I'll do is go back to Northeast, click on the KPI, and up in the top right, I'll change the period to yearly and select Show Results. Because I set the aggregation type to sum, it simply adds those Northeast values up to provide a total at the yearly level. Since I've only loaded one data point, the value would be the same as the monthly level for May, in this case 300. The next topic is expanding new organizations that were built via Copy as Template. New structures are not locked into what the original template contains. New items can always be added after utilizing Copy as Template. For instance, going back to sales, There is value of sales and number of sales, which came from the original template. Discount card sales also came over, which I just defined at the sales template level. But what is also here is sales pipeline, which was not part of the template. It was something that was wanted for just the top level of sales, and so it was added just at that level. If I were to select any other org like Africa, I would not see sales pipeline. The last item I'd like to determine is what happens if I need to edit anything that came from Kpi's template. If I select Europe Kpi's template, and then the number of cards sold KPI, and then select Edit at the bottom, I'll see a note that this KPI is based on a template and that only some of the settings can be overridden. Towards the middle, there's a KPI Settings option, and I can change that from Use Template to Override Template. Just as the note warned, some items can't be changed, like aggregation type. Under Series, the property of actual value, along with red flag and goal, also cannot be changed from Rollup. However, I can change how missing values are treated, along with the red flag and goal. Any changes here would only impact Europe Kpi's template. At the level above that, I can select Advanced Options. From here, I can choose Override Template and alter the start and archive date.